Here we are continuing on in our Pliny's letter. This is from the 6th book, the 16th letter, describing the events at Vesuvius and the death of Pliny the Elder, Pliny the Younger's nephew. So we went over this in class today, but I'm going to quickly do it again. We have first this quam vis, which means although, in essence. So it's just an adjective. It's not post-positive. It's starting the sentence. And by adjective, sorry, I meant adverb. So although, that's all we have there. He himself, and this is going to be our subject. We can know that that's nominative, singular, masculine. That's the only thing that ipsa can be. Plurima opera et mansura condideret. So we were saying that this is many things, and sometimes these r's are reduplicated in Latin. Sometimes they're left alone. It doesn't really matter what text you're looking at. So many works and works that. What is this? Ura. Well, this is a future active participle, and that means about to blank, whatever the meaning of the verb is, and mansura coming from maneo, meaning to remain. So even though we might say he himself had condideret, had created, had finished many works, and works about to remain. There were works remaining for him to write, and they would have lasted. Much, however, and this is our post-positive, it comes after the first word in the clause. So this is our post-positive adverb. Nevertheless, although, so we have these two working together, although and nevertheless. Although he himself had done many works, or had written many works, and works about to remain, nevertheless, much to the perpetuity, the afterlife of him. So this is a genitive working with this dative, this feminine dative singular. Of writings of yours, so this modifies scriptorum, and then both of this whole kind of genitive clause is modifying eternitas. So the eternity of your writings will add, and we noted that this was a future active third person singular indicative verb. So he will add, not he will add, but eternity, the eternity of your writings will add much to his perpetuity, to his ongoing remembrance. So we're saying that Pliny the Elder did a lot himself, but still your histories will add much to his kind of life story. So then skipping ahead, I guess that's what we're doing right now. Let's go to this erat miseni, where we have just begun today in class. So there was at miseni, so this is a locative kind of use of what looks like a genitive noun. So there was at Mycenae, or Mycenum, rather, that's the nominative form of the town. It's this kind of island area on the edge, I guess it's the northwest edge of the Bay of Naples. There was at Misenum what? He was. So who is the he here? Well, this is still, we're talking about Pliny the Elder. So he was at Misenum, and there, so this is the and connecting the two clauses. So we have basically, he was at Misenum, part 1, and then part 2 is going to be the rest of this sentence. And he was ruling, he was in charge of the fleet. That's what classips means, classum and the accusative singular. Being present, so this is praesanes, this is our nominative, so that's an N, nominative masculine singular form of the, and this is modifying again Pliny the Elder. So Pliny, being present, was ruling the fleet with imperial, with the rule that was his. He was kind of a general in this context. And then we went over the special date usage that Latin likes to do. So the 9th, and then we have to supply scilicet ante diem. So on the 9th, that's what that means. 9th day, nonum modifies this implied diem, the 9th day before. Remember, dies is one of those rare masculine, fifth declension nouns. So what we've got here is a before the ninth day, a prepositional phrase. But we don't see that preposition, we don't see that ante, but that's what's being implied. Just because, just like we might write a date, if we write 24 July, well, does that mean there's 24 Julys? Well, we understand, no, that's the date and that's the month. That's how we do our calendar, how we express the date. For Latin, they'll do just this, because ante diem is taken. That's how they measure days, back from what ends up being the calends, the first day of September. So the first day of September, 9 days before that, and they count inclusively. So that means normally you would have first minus 9 days would put us on the 23rd, but because they count inclusively, so they include that first in it, this is going to be the 24th of August. So on the 24th of August, near, that's what the fera is going to do, near the 7th hour, so again we have another ordinal adjective here, the 9th day, the 7th hour, mater mea, so my mother, indicat. This is just a present indicative, so this is going to be, again, even in Pliny, not Livy, a historical present. So my mom points out, indicates, but really, of course, this is recording something that had happened about 30 years before. So my mom pointed out to him, dative of interest, apparere. So what does this mean? Well, that means be visible. So we don't know what to do with that. Pointed out to him, be visible, nubem. So a cloud. So so she pointed out to him, and we might say, well, what would follow that sort of phrasing? Well, we might think, and you would think correctly, this is going to be indirect discourse. We're going to get an infinitive and an accusative subject. So that's our verb, and this is our accusative subject of this indirect statement. And that's going to close with the end of the sentence. So my mom pointed out to him that a cloud appeared, and then a cloud in usitata et magnitudine et specie. So what is this et? Well, we have both and. And magnitude, so that's size. And then specie, that's that's going to be form, shape. This is where we get the word species from. So we're talking about a different type of cloud. So form, type, shape, all those things might work well. And then inusitata. So that's unfamiliar. That's something that you are unaccustomed to, unused to. So it's why do we have all these ablatives here? Well, there appeared a cloud, and then this is one of those things that we've seen before, an ablative of description. We saw this in Livy with the noun, the ablative noun, or not to, meaning he was almost equal in costume and the richness of his dress, that is the scribe, to Lars Porsena. Here we've got a new cloud, a new type of cloud appearing that is unusual in both its size and its form. So this is strange. Of course, we know with our perspective that this is the volcano, but what Pliny is doing here is building up some suspense about what it might be. So then we get to this usus ille. We were just talking about a cloud, but we're now back to Pliny, and this is Pliny the Elder. So he, having been accustomed by sun, then by water, or cold water, Lafleur says that we need to supply aqua here. So he's going through a kind of spa treatment as he's accustomed to, Pliny the Elder. He's getting a little bit older at this point, so he's going to sunbathe for a little while, then take a cold bath. These are sort of the daily rituals, the routines of a Roman elite. So let me make a small little correction. In usitata, this is unaccustomed, and that's all this is coming, this us, coming from this verb utor. And this is what we have here, the fourth principal part. I say fourth, but it's a deponent verb. So we have utor, uti, usus, sum. And this is to use, to enjoy, and this verb, this deponent verb, takes the ablative. So we have usus here that takes the ablative. It's also deponent, so this is technically, in terms of its form at least, I'll clean this up a little bit in a second, a perfect passive participle. We're used to seeing these. But because it's deponent, which is what? A verb that's passive in form but active in meaning, this is actually an active participle, but it's still perfect. This is that elusive thing that we couldn't find in most verbs. Talking about a verb that has a perfect meaning and a participle with a perfect meaning. It's past tense, it had happened or has happened, but it's active. Only deponents can do this, and it's very useful. So he, having enjoyed, having taken a sun bath, then a cold water bath, Pliny the Elder, gustaverat, well, what does that mean? Well, you would look this up in the dictionary and find gusto, gustare, a nice first conjugation verb. So gusto, gustare, gustavi, that's the third principal part that we're working with here, gustavi, and we'd erase this long I, the first person ending, and make it this erat. Well, that means we're in a pluperfect, active, indicative verb here, third person singular. So having himself, that guy, that is Pliny, having taken a sun bath, then a cold water bath, he had tasted, he had enjoyed, so he had eaten lying down. This is kind of common Roman practice. They wouldn't sit at a table, they would lie as they ate, and he was studying. So this is what we like to think of as a leisured gentleman. Of course, we went over in class, these letters aren't, they're 30 years after the fact, they're written for publication. We need to be dubious of any of Pliny the Younger's claims to truth here, but the way he's presenting his uncle then is very interesting. This is showing him as a leisured Roman elite. He's taking care of business, he's running the fleet, but at the same time he is not worried about this cloud. He's going through his normal rituals. That's very Roman. That's a Roman virtue, to not be perturbed by the things that are going on. And then when he does get interested, it's going to be out of this kind of scientific curiosity, we'll see. So this is his state. He was lying, he's eaten, he's taken his bath, sun and water, and then posco, he asked for his soleas. So this is where we get soles of the shoe. So these are his slippers, these are his sandals. And he ascends. Again, this is a historic present. And then we can just say to a place here. Ascende, it's going to kind of convey that notion of ad. So he ascends to a place away from which most, so this is what is this? A superlative adjective, maximus, and then we have this ending in a short e. This is our adverb form. So we're maximally, we're optimally, we're the most, the miracle. This is the unbelievable thing, that miracle. So we had illa over here, that man, and then that miracle. These are both, Pliny the Elder is famous. This explosion of Vesuvius was famous, maybe we'd say infamous. That justifies the use of this strong, demonstrative pronoun, that miracle. Conspici, so, that's going to be a infinitive, passive infinitive. Poterat, so where he would be able to see that, so it's passive, because we got conspico, to see, and then conspicere. So this is the passive infinitive ending in a long I. So the subject of this actually has to be the miraculum. So this is going to be our subject, from which the miracle, that miracle, most was able at that point to be seen. So that's what we've got going on. We've got this long relative clause. The quo is masculine, or we could even say neuter. Locus goes back and forth, but quo is modifying locum here. That's why it's singular, that's why it's masculine or neuter. So he ascends to that place from which that miracle was able to be seen. The miracle being this strange cloud. We're going to get some more on the cloud in the next video. See you then.